Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back to this week's show. And before we hop into the tech talk, we definitely want to take a minute to thank each of you for tuning in, listening, downloading, and supporting the show. If you want to get a little bit of extra content, you can become a Patreon supporter. That gives you access to the show's live recording, as well as to access to our pre-show for our exclusive content. You can find out all the details about signing up over at patreon.com/snoboscast. With that, let's go ahead and jump into this week's show. We're going to kick it off with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. First up on deck, coming with iOS 18.1, Apple is finally opening up the basically tap to pay. For any of you who have iPhones, you know you can go to pretty much any establishment that has tap to pay, and typically you can only use your Apple Wallet. So meaning if you have an Apple Card, if you have your personal credit card or debit card saved to your Apple Wallet, your Apple Cash, those are typically the only cards that you can use when you use tap to pay from your wallet. Well, a new feature is coming along, like I said, with 18.1 that is going to allow developers to include NFC transactions with, we talked about it when we talked about all the new features coming to iOS 18 secure element, but this is going to allow other contactless transactions with different types of cards and sources. It's not just going to be Apple Wallet, Apple-based payments anymore. And I want to get your opinion on why you think Apple now all of a sudden is opening it up, when, you know, we traditionally, Apple is very, only things in our ecosystem get used. All you other people, you stay over there. This is just for us.
Right. So it's about time is the answer. You know, technology is getting better. More businesses, more schools, more hotels, you know, are using technology more and more. So it makes sense for Apple to finally say, all right, we're going to start support more things other than just transactions, right? Think about corporate badges, think about student IDs, think about home keys. Like if you get a key that you can put a card on your home key, you can use that and then add that card, you know, virtually in Apple Wallet. Hotel keys, merchant loyalty and rewards cards. And we already know about event tickets, but anything outside of Ticketmaster and Live Nation, right?
Right.
I think it's like I mentioned, it's about time. You know, when Apple first came out. Another thing I want to mention is some of the things that I mentioned don't have to integrate with Apple services directly, right? So you think a driver's license. All Apple is doing is allowing you to store that information on your phone. Your driver's license doesn't interact with Apple Pay. It doesn't interact with, you know, email. It doesn't interact with anything else outside of Apple saying, okay, you can store your card on our service, on our hardware. And then if somebody asks for it, it only interacts with that specific card. It doesn't interact with credit cards. It doesn't interact with, you know, any sort of debit or whatever that you currently have in your wallet. So Apple, I think, should kind of use that as the, you know, guinea pig and say, all right, well, how does this work? How can we use it for other things? You know, you can kind of see it they started doing with Paris, with the Olympics, right? They were allowing people to automatically select a card for transit, and you don't even have to double click the home button to open up Apple Pay. You just hold your phone over it. It finds that card and it reads it. So Apple's like, all right, well, the test is over. Now let's kind of open it up to other things. Like I mentioned, the best things I can think of is car keys, because a lot of cars are coming keyless, corporate badges to where I don't have to no longer carry a badge. I can just carry my phone, a physical badge, right? Hotel keys, student IDs, because there's a lot of students A lot of
Yeah.
colleges have stepped up their game as far as digital access and digital IDs. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, we see y'all making progress. Now we'll play nice. When before it was like everybody was doing everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wild, wild west out there. Now Apple has kind of came in and kind of showed that you can use your hardware to do these transactions and it's safe and it's secure. Other technologies like, all right, well, let's integrate with that.
Yeah. And also, Apple in the press release, they're saying that government IDs will be supported, but that's down the road. That's in the future, not as of right now. Not like your student IDs or your driver's license. Also, the relevant APIs to build out this technology, be able to use it, is going to be available to developers in a couple different markets: Australia, Brazil, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, UK, and the US. In the upcoming 18.1 developer beta, with, of course, other locations coming, down the line. So those are going to be the main ones that kind of kick it off with allowing this additional support for other NFC type cards to be used. So
Mm-hmm.
I think also in this article, this is from The Verge, it does mention something around the EU, the European Commission, and their antitrust investigation. I think the European Commission is really kind of sticking it not just to Apple, but to many of these companies to force them to be, one, more open, and two, more secure. So I wonder if this also kind of allows Apple to get kind of a jump on, the pressure that's coming down from the European Commission. So it looks like, this is going to be great for consumers because it gives you a little bit more variety of flavor of the different types of digital keys that you may use. So look forward to that coming in 18.1. Of course, it won't launch with iOS 18.0, which we expect sometime maybe in the next month or so.
Right.
But 18.1 is suspected to follow a couple of weeks after the initial launch of 18.1. So of 18.0. So keep your eyes out for that because that is expected to be coming. Next up, I did want to talk about this specifically for the reason that, a lot of these companies do get a lot of slack about, the way they work in different types of spaces, particularly with all of the rollbacks that a lot of these companies are doing with DEI and the backlash for that, which is basically racism. But Apple has been doing their entrepreneur camp for 5 years now. And for the 5th iteration of that, the application's just open. Of course, if you're an Apple developer or someone who is a small business founder, we'll definitely put the link in the show notes so you can send that out. But I think it's always important to kind of bring these things to the forefront because this is something that does give smaller founders, smaller companies who may not have that Silicon Valley connection, may not be able to get access to the big venture capital funds. But what this entrepreneur camp does is it supports underrepresented founders and developers and encourages the pipeline and longevity for these entrepreneurs in technology. So this includes women, Black, Hispanic, Latinx, Indigenous founders, so mostly marginalized or underrepresented groups. It gives them the ability to start to compete and to get, essentially a leg up in the founder space. Because as we talked about before, there have been many times when, we know that, Black women get like 1% of venture capitalist fund, the different Latinx people get a smaller portion, women get a smaller portion. So it's one of those things where this is allowing these different founders to get access to the machine, that is Apple. And, if you're in app development or if you're a founder and you're creating an app, most of the time you're creating something that is going to, a lot of people start with iOS to build their app out before they go into Android or even the web. It usually starts with iOS. So it's opening this up, giving folks the opportunity to meet and work directly with Apple engineers, product managers. And previously, because I think this really started either right before the pandemic or right as the pandemic was really hitting, and it was all virtual. Well, now that things have opened back up, this is also going to now include in-person programming where you can go to Cupertino, up to Apple Park, and meet with these different people one-to-one and get that one-to-one mentorship in building your business and building your applications and companies and those types of things. So I think it's always kind of important to highlight when something like this, especially from a big company, who we always think about is all about money, money, money. This pipeline that helps these different entrepreneurs from underrepresented groups.
Well, so it's Apple makes sure to highlight that it's open to female, Black, Latinx, Hispanic, Indigenous, but it's not specifically for them. I think Apple's like, all right, it's open to everybody, anybody that's an entrepreneur. But at the same time, we want to make sure that anybody that wants to apply, Apple wants to roll out the welcome mat, right? Number two, I think this is beneficial because what a lot of founders do is they design an app. And like you mentioned, most people start developing for iOS first to see if they can get the groundswell, see if they can get the interest up, and then spread out to different other ones. Other ones. Android is the only other one, right? But what a lot of founders, entrepreneurs do is they develop the app and then rush out to get money from venture capitalists, angel investors, pitch competitions. And then once they get the money, then they're like, all right, how do we make this better? Right?
Yeah.
When this is an opportunity for, in my opinion, for people to start out the right way. You have an idea for an app. You want to make sure it gets developed on the main platform, which is iOS. Instead of you coming up with an idea, throwing something together, and then rushing out and get frustrated because you can't find no money. Well, now what you can do is actually then take the next step is go talk to Apple, who owns iOS and works with developers. And now you've got this camp to where you've got this idea, you know a little bit of code. Now you can go talk to the people who are essentially gatekeepers to whether or not your app is going to get approved or denied. Now, just because you go to this entrepreneur camp doesn't automatically mean you've got the right stuff. And just because you decide not to go to this camp doesn't mean that Apple's going to be like, oh, did you go to our entrepreneur camp? You didn't? All right, we're denying your app. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is instead of before you put the cart before the horse and try to go out and raise all this money, it's probably best that you develop the app as much as possible. Go talk to Apple, who you're trying to get it on, and see if they can give you some insight, see if they can give you some input, see if they can give you some feedback into making your app better first. Then go raise the money, go get the capital, go, do what you got to do if you can, right? Yeah. A lot of people develop these apps and then get stuck because, all right, I can't go raise no money. And then the app don't go nowhere. Well, all right, instead of going to move out to San Francisco, why don't you spend a week or two or however long the camp is, go sit in Apple right then. You may run into a co-founder. You may run into, another developer that can help you build it. You may find a founder that's going to this camp to see what all the kids are doing in Apple. You may run it that way and you didn't have to do nothing. You didn't have to fly out and pitch deck to death and meet all these people to death. Everybody is kind of, what's the word? When people get together, it starts with a C. I can't think of
Congregate?
it. Yes. Congregate at Apple around this camp. You might as well go there, see what you can get out of that first before you decide, all right, my next step is to go do this, that, and the third.
Yeah, it's kind of like your foundational support. It probably helps you to, avoid some of the pitfalls that other founders get, just trying to rush out and get their idea out. So yeah, the applications are open until September 3rd. Also, you can, it lists different other people, alumni of previous entrepreneur camps. You can kind of see what their apps were, kind of what it was like for them, just to get an idea of the type of products that have gone through it. But if you are a founder, or even if you're thinking, if you have an app idea, this may be a good start for you, and definitely try and get in, because it's better to be in the end. And a lot of times these things is who not necessarily what and who knows who you may link up with, who you may connect with, that can really help you soar in your endeavors. So I think it's always cool when companies are willing to do this type of thing and get people out there. And again, you can do in-person stuff, and then we know that everybody can't necessarily maybe get all the way out to Cupertino. You can still do some participate virtually as well. But I think the biggest thing is now that, before it was all virtual, now they seem to be opening it back up for people to come out and participate in person and make those one-to-one connections. All right. The next thing in the lowdown, Spotify and Apple. Just like Spotify and Epic, it's always these issues. Well, Apple has finally agreed to allow Spotify to display their prices. I believe we talked about this before, where the issue was there's one price inside the app, and then there's additional prices outside of the app, and the app being Spotify. And Spotify wanted to be able to show that these are their prices, and not have to go through in-app purchases and pay the 30% of the commission. So the European Union, and Apple and Spotify were kind of going back and forth. There were complaints, there were lawsuits, and all these things. Well, Apple has finally acquiesced and said that they are going to opt into this and allow Spotify to share their pricing information, as well as other promotional offers. Seemingly, I got an email from Spotify. I haven't been on Spotify in probably a couple years, saying, hey, if you join now, you can join for $11.99 to get a special deal for a year, rather than if you say sign up for Spotify through the subscriptions, in the through your iPhone. And so, because again, they can flex their prices, or they can, have different specials and
right. They could be more enticing.
Yeah,
they'd be more enticing to end users. Say, hey, if you join on the Spotify website, you can get 20% off, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
So Spotify is looking at it as, we can better control the pricing, which would better entice users to come join on our platform,
and
which
not
through Apple. And that way we can better collect data on the end user.
Because that's all it's about. It's not about the $11.99 or the low price of $9.99. It's about the data.
Well, it's also, I'm pretty sure Spotify is one of those people that's got to pay Apple in commissions, and they don't want to pay it, and I get it. But my concern is, I can't speak for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So personally, I am at a stage to where I'm just not subscribing to anything else. And right now, fine tooth combing my current subscriptions, right? If I've got to go to Spotify, and I've got to go to Netflix, and I've got to go to Disney, and I've got to go to Amazon, and I've got to go
each
to
is different person.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to start canceling subscriptions, as opposed to being able to go into my iPhone, go into my subscriptions, and see all my subscriptions laid out right then and there. Right. Mm-hmm. So it could possibly backfire, because now I got to sign up on another site versus being able to quickly sign up for a subscription in Apple
Or cancel,
or
because it's
or
so easy to cancel.
right, or easily cancel. But it if I am trying to find out how much I'm paying in subscription services, being able to quickly get to it to me is more of a benefit
Yeah.
than the cost savings that I may get if I've got to sign up on every single
And having to
subscription
keep
site.
up with each of them on each different app. That's the convenience of subscriptions in Apple. They're all listed there in one place. You know what's coming. You get the email that says it's coming out, and then it's done. To me, again, I agree with you. I think it's going to be more detrimental to Spotify than it is going to be beneficial for Spotify. But
We'll
hey,
see.
they got their win, right?
Yep.
And they can finally say they stuck it to Apple. But again, I think it's going to be one of those things that it's probably not going to be what they thought it was going to be, or be as beneficial or helpful or save them money or get them more money. It seems like it's making it more of a hassle for the user. And if you piss off your users and make it more difficult for them to use your service, they're just going to leave, because it's not like Spotify is the only music streaming site that's out there. So best of luck with them on that. All right, that is going to wrap up the lowdown, unless you had anything else you want to talk about, Terrance.
Nope.
Cool. Let's head on over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. Now, this particular story, we've talked about data breaches quite a bit on this show because it's a big deal. And we talked about Ticketmaster, we talked about TikTok, we talked about AT&T, we talked about all the different breaches. Well, this one I think is probably the mother of all data breaches. So basically, potentially every single American, almost 3 billion people, have had their social security number stolen, and it's currently on the black web for about $3.5 million. This happened back in April, I believe. So how did this happen? So apparently there's a lawsuit, of course, that's filed with the federal courts through Fort Lauderdale. And there's a hacking group, USDOD. They claimed back in April that they stole personal records of 2.9 billion with the B, people from the national public data, which basically has the personal information for employers, private investigators, staffing agencies, basically people who do background checks. And when you do a background check, you kind of have to have a lot of information. So apparently this group is claiming that they stole all this data. And not only did they get social security numbers, they got full names, current addresses, previous addresses, birthdays, phone numbers, alternate name information. So if you got married, they got your maiden name. They even, I saw in one article, so the article I'm reading now is from the LA Times, but I saw on CNET that they even got relative information. So down to like aunts and cousins and uncles, because if you're doing a background check on a person, these are things you need to have. One, as identifying information to, identify people with different, with the same names, but also depending on the level of background check, that determines the depth of information that they have to have. So the thought that essentially everything to literally steal your identity is on the dark web from being stolen from people who do background checks.
So did they steal it from a company, or where did they steal it from? Did they steal it? According to this, it says about 4 months after a notorious hacking group claimed to have stolen an extraordinary amount of sensitive personal information from a major data broker, a member of the group has reportedly released most of it from an online marketplace. What is a major data broker? Is that?
It's called the National Public Data. And it says a little bit further down, it says National Public Data, this entity, they do background checks. So
Mhm.
they keep personal information,
Of course they do.
which offers personal information to employers. So if you're applying for a new job, you need a background check. That's where the information goes. Private investigators, staffing agencies, or basically anybody who needs to do a background check. This is where all of this background check data lives.
Hopefully, there are other companies out there that do that, and hopefully, this is not the one company everybody goes through to do background checks, because this is coming out in the Los Angeles Times. So my guess is this may be a regional thing. So most companies on the West Coast pull or use this national public data, whereas people in the South versus people in the Midwest versus people on the East Coast may
I don't
use
know.
some other company. But the reason why I say that is, forget AI, forget going to Mars and beyond, forget autonomous vehicles, not forget them. What we need to be concerned about primarily is our data, because every week it seems like a new data breach, and more people are ensuring our data with these companies, whether it be just a name and an email address to sign up for a streaming service, to providing your information to a company that approves a home mortgage, right? So you think about sign up for a streaming service, you'll just get your email address, your first and last name,
Maybe
maybe
a
your
phone number.
address, maybe a phone number, maybe just a credit card, right? But think about all the data you have to give up in order to get approved for a home mortgage: bank statements, credit card statements,
Tax returns.
tax returns, check stubs.
Yeah.
If it's your wife or your husband or your partner or whomever's buying the house with you, all their information has got
Yeah.
to be pulled up. If you co-signing, somebody's got to co-sign. All that information is up too. So it's just like we are giving up more and more and more of our data to more and more companies, and they, from what I can tell, are
Don't have the
not
tools to protect it.
don't have the tools protected, or are not investing enough of their profits into
Too.
strong securing our data stronger. I don't care what you got to do, just do it. If you are forcing us to give up more of our information, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
but back in the 70s and 80s, that stuff was on paper in a
Yeah.
filing cabinet somewhere. Now the right person with the right tools can get that information no matter where it
And a
is,
snap of a finger.
in the snap of a finger. So it's just like, all right, we need to slow our roll with trying to, you know, uh, uh, use robots to paint pretty pictures on the internet. We need to be secure on our data first. Once we get that part taken care of, and it's not going to be foolproof, it's not going to be 100%,
Right.
but it just seems like these companies are just getting our data
Yeah.
and just putting it somewhere and just assuming, well, nobody knows it's here. Wrong. People know
Yeah.
are finding it, and they're
Yeah.
putting it on the dark web, and it's like not to say I don't trust it, but I can't not to give people data, because
Yeah.
it's all electronic now, and it's like
Yeah.
you got to give it up in order to get the service that you're
Yeah.
applying for. And it's just like no fair that we are entrusting our money and our data with these companies, and they're taking our money, they're taking our
But not
data,
protecting us.
and not doing right by the consumer.
Yeah. And looking through this article, I don't think it is regional. It says a little bit further down that these hackers stole personal records of 2.9 billion people from the national public data. So it sounds like national public data has it all.
And
And they
then
got it all from this one place.
the store the story says, it's got a subtitle, "How to Protect Yourself," and they say, if you suspect that your social security number or other important identifying information about you has been leaked, experts say you should put a freeze on your credit files at the three major credit card bureaus. Those are the people who are selling my data. It's like,
And if you have my data, if I put the freeze on it and you call in, you already have all the stuff, all the keys you need to like lift the freeze, right?
yeah, yeah. My thing is, it's like, when you nowadays, we haven't done it recently, but when you apply for a credit card or you apply for a home loan or a HELOC or a car loan or whatever the case may be, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion Union, how they're making their money is they are selling the fact that I applied for for example, arbitrarily $100,000 HELOC. They're not giving up all the data, but they are selling the fact that I
that you're
applied.
doing it.
And
And so
then
people who that benefits, they can reach out to you because they know you in the process
so
to sell
so
you the service.
so if you're wondering why you're getting mortgage rates in the mail and people are calling you about credit cards and they know specifically the offer that they're giving you is exactly the amount
same.
that you took out for, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, it's a shame that the same company that I'm supposed to be freezing my data so I don't get stolen, those are the same people that's giving up my data. And it's just like, come on, man. What kind of circle jerk is this to where this is okay? How is this okay?
The ops working together.
Right.
And so the interesting thing is, further down the article, it says National Public Data didn't respond to a request for comment, nor has it formally notified people about the alleged breach. It has, however, been telling people who contacted it via email that, quote, we are aware of certain third-party claims about consumer data and are investigating the issues, end quote. Like, bro.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
It's just
Again,
wild that they can even do that. That there's no accountability being pushed on them outside of this article. That's in the news. It's crazy. So I say all this to say, protect yourselves as much as you can. Check your credit report monthly. Keep an eye out for suspicious things. Again, I already have all these things on from previous breaches I've been in, but sometimes you just gotta go ahead. You get, I think, a free. I know you used to get like a free credit report a year. That's probably changed. You can probably get one every month if you want to at this point. But just check your stuff and make sure nobody's getting home loans or car loans or credit cards in your name, because if the info is out there, it said in this article that they posted to sell it for $3.5 million. It doesn't look like there's a buyer yet. If I was this national public data, I would just buy this information
back
from them and buy it back. It's easier to be out $3.5 million than billions of dollars from people suing you in a class action for a data breach. So that would be my thing, is just buy it yourself.
Yeah, but even still, ain't no guarantee that they're gonna give you all the keys, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They may say, "Oh, yeah, sure, you buy it," and you spend $2.3 billion to buy it back, and the information is out there anyway. So it's almost like, it's like I at the point to where it's almost like you feel defeated, that you can't not give away your money. And then the story says, another subtitle is "Your worst enemy may be you," and they say, never click on a link or call a phone number in an unsolicited text or email. I'm like, that's not how they're stealing our data. They are stealing it from the company that swore up and down. They're stealing it from the company that swore up and down, trust us, your data is safe with us. We've got this procedure, and we've got this measure, and we've got that measure, and we don't share your data, yada yada yada. It's like, yeah, you don't share it outright, but if somebody stole it from you because you ain't doing your due diligence, who cares how it got there?
They got it. Right. Either way, they got it.
Right. Just because you say we didn't mean to, don't make me feel no better if my data and my identity has been stolen.
What's the saying? Intent doesn't negate impact. Your intent wasn't to lose my data, but it still has an impact nonetheless. So yeah, wild stuff. Again, be safe out there with your digital footprint. Be as careful as you can. Other than that, it's just like, hey,
they gonna make me fake
give it to Jesus.
They gonna make me fake an identity just so he was
Or apply for a different social security number. I know I
right.
saw somewhere saying you could do that, but it's like really, really hard
Let
to
me
get
get
a
a
new social security number.
and use that just for home loans and credit
Right.
cards.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know.
It's crazy. Insane. So let's head on over to For the Culture, where we talk about socially relevant things that's going on in our community and around the world. I had a little bit of trouble coming up with something this week because a lot of it was Donald Trump. A lot of it was fallout from the Olympics with Jordan Childs. It was, the people not covering Kamala Harris's rallies and all that stuff. So I was really struggling with something to come up with that was not just outright depressing. Brother Tech stepped in and he pulled up. I guess I did see this. Usher. He he of course had his residency in Las Vegas. Then
For like a year
he
or two.
I tried to go a couple times. Didn't happen. I was disappointed, but I've seen him a couple times already. Does a
It
great
was
show.
just too. At the time we thought about going, it was just too daggone expensive. And this was like, I like Usher, but damn, I ain't got to. I'm not trying to fly out to Vegas and spend oodles of money to stay there.
Yeah.
Spend oodles of money on the tickets and then food and then outfits. And it's like, maybe I'm
Yeah.
cheap. Maybe I'm old. Maybe I'm turning into curmudgeon. But it's just like I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
The prices actually weren't bad, but when the Keke Palmer situation happened, they escalated.
That's what happened. That's what
Because I
happened.
had a couple of friends who were going right before that happened. And it was at the time that I was transitioning out of the current role I was in. And I was like, I can't make it work. And the tickets were maybe they were like $250 to $400. Perfectly reasonable. After the Keke Palmer thing, prices shot up to the minimum. I looked at the seats that I was going to get before. The same seats that were like $300-$400 were now like $800. They doubled when that happened. So Usher decided to, after the Super Bowl, because he did the Super Bowl performance, to go on tour. And of course, Usher is an Atlanta guy. And he had originally a couple of dates in Atlanta, but that were further along in the tour. But then because of the demand, he basically tacked on to the beginning before the tour was supposed to start. He tacked on some dates on the front end while leaving the other dates on the back end. Well, it looks like he has to postpone the shows that he tacked on in the beginning. He did this big iOS notes press release in all caps, which kind of made my eyes blur.
Yeah, it's like real hard to read. It's like,
It was really hard.
ugh.
I was like, you don't have to yell. You can just do regular up and lowercase. But he postponed those opening shows.
Well, it looks like just one date tonight, and the reason why it's relevant, well, not relevant. The reason why I put it in there is because, of course, we're from Atlanta.
Yeah.
We both expressed interest in going to see Usher as a result of this newfound. Our community has always loved Usher, but
Right.
like you mentioned, his Vegas residency, his performance at the Super Bowl.
Got a whole bunch of new audience.
And he's got an album out. Another thing I didn't know, he's got this album came out in June. So all of that, he's like, all right, well, let me, what most people would do is like, all right, let me ride this wave and announce this tour. So we're like, all right, bet. So now more people get to see Usher as he goes on tour. I'm assuming throughout the country, right? Like you mentioned, since he calls Atlanta home, he decided to do the opening dates in Atlanta. Well, it looks like the other dates are still on. For instance, what I read on this story, Usher's other Atlanta dates on the tour, including August 16th and 17th. If you're listening to us live, that's tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. It's just this opening night that was supposed to happen tonight in Atlanta has got postponed. And I get it. He's got all this stuff going on. The dude's probably tired. He's been in Vegas for the past year or two. He had to prepare for Super Bowl. He had to get that album out, and now he's had to plan logistically and prepare and practice and perform or practice his performance for this tour.
Mm.
So my question is, I get it. You have to postpone that date, but it's like, what's a day going to do when the dates for tomorrow and the dates on Friday are still on? My assumption would be he was going to cancel the whole opening event in Atlanta, and then the dates that are for Atlanta in October would be the dates for Atlanta. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
he's just canceled 2 nights performance, so that leads me to believe maybe something else going on outside of he's got to rest and recuperate or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, because his iOS notes press release says that he had to give. It says, "quote give my body a second to rest and heal." But I'm like, you can do all that resting and healing in 2 days and then go back.
Maybe,
That's
maybe he was in Paris for the Olympics and then had to fly back or something. It's like, all right,
maybe.
logistically, we just can't do it. By the time I get back, it's going to be rushed, and I don't want to put on no rinky-dink performance
Yeah.
for tonight. So let's just
And
push
that's
the
what he
opening.
says.
Yeah, yeah.
He
But
said
it's
he wants to give, people their best or whatever.
yeah. But my thing is, it's like, all right, take like a week or 2 weeks off. Take the what everybody when we all take a vacation, we take a week off, right? Take a week off.
Yeah.
Leads me to believe that I'm speculating,
Yeah.
but maybe something else happened specifically with tonight's show that he's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, we can't do it tonight. Let's just do it tomorrow
Yeah.
and Friday, and then come back in October. Which since I just looked at this, I'm like, I forgot that Usher was putting on that tour, and I forgot to look at tickets. So I'm definitely going to try.
You don't want to. You don't want to.
Even for the October dates.
They're all like, the base is like $800.
Never mind. Never. I tried. Usher, trust me. I've tried. And maybe it's the lack of effort in me. Maybe it's the cheapness in me. Maybe I'm getting old, but it's just like I am not, especially all the trouble I went through to go to that SWV concert in the summer. It's like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
If it ain't meant for me, it just ain't meant for me. And I got to pay extra money, and I got to wait in line, wait listed, and I got to just say, maybe I'm just not a concert dude no more. Maybe I'm an outdoor on the lawn festival type person. I'm just not a concert type person. I don't know.
So I have to say that I think Beyonce and Usher are definitely peers, especially when it comes to the level that they give the show. But his tickets cost more than Beyonce's tickets.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I ain't got it. I mean, I don't have it. And I know that it's going to be a great show. I know that he's going to give it all of the things, but looking at the prices, I was just like, because when they first announced, I was like, yeah. I was like, this is, yeah. Let me get Usher, because I didn't get to go to the residency, and then when I pulled up the prices, I was like, bruh, like. My guy, hey, I know you had the residency tickets that were that high. And I know you did the Super Bowl, but Jesus Christ, man.
All right. So I'm on the website right now, and I went to the October dates in Atlanta. He's got Thursday the 18th. He's got Thursday the 17th, Friday the 18th, and I think Sunday the 19th or 20th. And for the Thursday show, I'm like, all right, Thursday, because more people are going to want to go on the weekend. So let me do Thursday. $220 is the lowest price. So not,
and that's in the
nosebleed.
That's in the obstructive view.
Oh,
so now they have these things where where the stage is, and they have like the seats that are kind of behind the stage,
and the speakers,
right?
And all the screens are all in the way. Yeah.
Those prices.
Got it.
Because I'm looking at the Friday date for the 16th, and the obstructed views are $150.
Got it.
So if you have an obstructed view where you can't see nothing, and that's $150.
Got it. Or the nosebleeds, and my wife does not do nosebleeds at all. At all. She get dizzy and pass out up there. So it's like, yeah, well, I just had to be there in spirit, I guess.
Well, hold on now. Hold on. I'm on the Friday show. They got a section 100. Oh, but that's obstructed.
Yeah, the 105 and
Yeah.
that's $250 to not see nothing. No, thank you.
To not see Jack.
No, thank you. I'm just getting old. I'm just not built to just spend whatever just to say I was there. I have to get my money's worth. If I can't get my money's worth, it feels like I wasted my time.
Yeah, and I'm looking at like section 115 and they're like 445 and these are resale. And I only think these tickets are this quote unquote low is because the show is like in a day. And people are trying to get rid of the tickets.
Right, right, right. Maybe. I don't know. Again, I love. I would probably enjoy myself going to a Usher concert, but I don't want to do all the work. And it seems like all these concerts from Beyonce to Usher to even like I mentioned, the SWV and all the. It's just like you had to. I think you shared a little bit, but you shared a little bit about your Missy Elliott concert. It's just like I just don't have it in me to pay all that money or to go through all that hassle for 2 hours.
So I got Missy tickets on pre-sale and I think I paid like $229 for those. And I was in section 100 in the center. I had really good seats.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't bad. And then her show, she did like an hour and a half. Like Sierra did like 45 minutes and Busta did like 45 minutes. So it was a good show. And they started right on time and they ended promptly because again, it's like the aunties and the uncles. Like when we went to Janet. Janet started at 8. Nelly was on stage performing at 8. He did his thing. She came out, she did her thing and it was like, okay, y'all got to go. And even the Janet tickets, I think the Janet tickets, I got them before the resellers got to them. And I think it was like 200 something for those. I think they were like 250. So, the key is to like get the tickets on the pre-sale and not have to get the resale tickets. Because of course, the resales, they're going to jack the prices
And then
all the way up.
And then all the fees. It's just like,
once you add the fees, it's insane.
I mean, you buy a ticket and by the time if it's $100, by the time you're done with all the fees, it's like $130, $140. And it's like, this is not what I thought in my mind the price was going to be once I got to the checkout. It's like, I'm just getting old. I just don't have it in me no more, I guess. I don't know. And that's just to be okay with that.
Yeah. I'm looking at a Saturday ticket on resale in section 113, $700.
Yeah, I ain't got it. I was
like, I'll just have to go back and look at the videos that I took for the last time I saw Usher and be happy with those and listen to the streaming music because again, Usher, I enjoy you, but these prices, my guy, these prices. And like I said, I haven't looked back at them since he first announced a tour and I saw those prices in the seats. Cause I like to sit in like the section 100 sections, like that's right in the center. So you get like the straight on view of the stage, but you're not flat, but you kind of elevated. So you get a good view. Right. And when I saw those tickets, and they were on pre-sales before the resellers. And the ones I were looking at were like 800. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to close this. And I haven't been back to look. Looking now, some of the tickets don't seem too bad. But when they originally came out, I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. But yeah. Yep. So, well, maybe ticket prices come down some. But I don't know. Have you ever tried that app? I think it's called Game Time.
I've never heard of it.
So basically, you go on there right before a show starts, and you can get the tickets. They broker to get the tickets right before the show starts, and they're usually like next to nothing. But you just kind of have to
before the show. Now, is that for concerts, or does that work better for like sports games, sporting events?
It does. I think it does all things, but I've only heard about it used for concerts. But you have to already, of course, be in the area. Right. And you take kind of the chance of getting a ticket or not. But
I may try that for some Hawks games because my son has expressed he wants to see some basketball games. So I may try it out there and see how it works.
Yeah, it's called Game Time.
Okay, all right.
All right. That's going to be it for the culture. Brother Tech, let's head into the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
Yeah, I don't have anything special with the exception of if you have an iPhone 15 Pro or 15 Pro Max, you probably need to start taking spatial video capture because the we know that the Vision is it Vision Pro? What is the name of it? Vision Pro? Is that the name of
Yeah.
the
Yep.
guy? Yeah, the Vision Pro is compatible. Apple Intelligence is one of those future technologies that will be able to use spatial video in some shape, form, or fashion. So my hookup is pretty simple. If you have an iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max, or you plan on getting an iPhone 16, uh, we still don't know if you got to get the 16 Pro or Pro Max to do the spatial video. We'll find out in about a month or so. But if you are if you have the technology, if you have a compatible phone, it's probably a good idea right now to start shooting spatial video because more and more of Apple technologies will start to take advantage of it. And it makes sense to go ahead and get it started now. So when that stuff rolls down the pike, you'll already have videos that can take advantage. So if you plan on using Apple Intelligence, if you plan on buying a Vision Pro, or the rumor is they've got the less expensive glasses version of the Vision Pro rumored to come out next. If you plan on doing any of that, my hookup is to go ahead and start shooting that spatial video right now.
Cool. That's going to wrap up this week's show. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva all over the internets. Again, to capture, to connect, to comment, to share, to support our show, head on over to snubwestcast.com to get all of the details. And with that, we will see you next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.